Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to Where Wendy Creates. Today we are taking a look at the different Halloween fabrics that I have, thinking about making a Halloween quilt. So first of all, we've got to go ahead and audition the fabrics, make sure that they all go well together and that I'm happy with them. And I actually think all of these blend pretty well. I've got two different kind of blacks here, the purple, the cobwebs, the candy corn, the skeletons, the fun frou-frou, the spider webs with the spiders, the cauldrons bubbling at the dead breakfast inn, the beautiful bats. I have the pumpkins and all together on that bright blue. And look, my beautiful, beautiful blackbirds, my ravens. So again, I think I'm quite happy with my selection that I have gathered. And now we're going to be taking a look at the pattern. And I'm trying to get a feel for being able to use the majority of my fabrics in, sorry about that, in one quilt. And at the same time, I'm thinking what I do is I take this and I make 4 of these. And I think in some of these, I can combine some of these blocks to make a larger, maybe an applique of a witch's boot, maybe a witch's broom or a witch on a broom, maybe a cauldron. So I'm looking at some of my sizes instead of making them individual blocks, making them a larger, so I can do some raw edge applique inside of that quilt. So we're in the planning stages, but I'm just about ready to label which of the fabrics I want to be in which block. And a couple of these I only have fat quarters of. So a few of these, again, I can only do as large as the fat quarters will allow me to. And again, I need 4 of these to make the quilt size that I'm looking for. So I'm making this 20... I want to say it was 28 by 32 times 4. Let me see if I wrote it out here. Times 4 is going to be 64 by 72, which is a beautiful lap size quilt. Or I can even stretch that out with some borders to make it into a twin or even a fuller queen. So I'm extremely excited about this, and let's get started. So I already know those that I'm going to make larger. I'm going to have the black color and make my pattern on top of the black, because I think a beautiful, maybe a gold cauldron with some red flames coming out of some wood sticks would be real cool. Love to make a broom. I was even thinking over here, I might turn this on one of the blocks into a bloom, and that would be a 6 by 13. I think that's plenty enough. If I want the broom upright, I kind of wanted it sideways, so I don't know if I want where I would want to do that. Maybe even right here. And so that this would be a 16 by 5. Put a nice raw edge applique of a broom in there. But yeah, let's go ahead, and whatever I do, I'm going to do times 4 to make this a nice size quilt. And we're just going to start throwing my ideas into the blocks and go from there. So let's start with the smallest pieces of fabric that I have, which are the fat quarters. So without measuring the fat quarters, a half a yard is 18 inches. Full width of fabric hopefully is a 40 inch. So at the most, I have 18 by 20 to work with, and probably just say an 18 by 18. That way I don't overshoot the runway on what I have to use with the fat quarters. So let's go ahead and start laying these out. Okay, so I think we have decided what we're going to do. So I've thrown the different fabrics that we're going to cut and the different sizes, minus the 1/2 inch for the sewing line, 1/4 inch seams. And so we've got everything lined up that we want to cut out. I'm going to go ahead and bring all my fabrics over to the ironing board. I'm going to press them, and then we're going to meet back at the cutting board, and we'll be cutting out all of these pieces and getting ready to create our next quilt, our Halloween quilt. Okay, so now we are over at the ironing board, and we've got one of our fat quarters, and we're going to go ahead and open this up and start pressing out all of my wrinkles so I can go ahead and cut very flat, very straight pieces. So, and again, you just want to go over all of the folds, all of the wrinkles, make sure all of that is out to where when we cut our pieces out, we are not going to have to worry about those measurements being off because we had a crease or a fold in there that we were not anticipating. And look at that, my friends. It did not open up, so you've got to knew that was a bigger piece. Sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit, pay attention, iron on or press on both sides, and then we put that to the side and start our next one. Okay, so now all of our fabrics are pressed, so we've gotten rid of at least 90+% of the wrinkles. We're going to go ahead and grab our pattern and start cutting our pieces. I'm going to start with our fat quarters first to make sure that the fat quarters are true fat quarters and I can fit the sizes that I wanted to get out of them. All right, let's start trimming. Okay, so now we're at our cutting board and we want to look at our measurements. And for this one, the mummy, I'm doing 4 by 10 and I want to have 4 of these. So we're going to go ahead and cut these off at 10 inches. And then looks like we're elongated here. So let's go ahead and measure and make sure I can get, yeah, because that will be 16 by 10. So that should be perfect. So let's go ahead and cut it off at the 10-inch mark. And I'm going to take my measurement, line up my selvage edge, because I know my selvage edge is always straight. And I'm going to take up the top piece, and we're going to go ahead and trim that off to make sure that we're perfectly straight across. And it does not look straight across, but because it looks like the pattern is tilted. So we are straight across there. I'm going to pull it down to my line, make sure I'm perfectly lined up on my line here. And then we're going to trim it off at the 10-inch mark. That's just amazing. It did not look straight. Okay, so we're going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We're going to go over to the sides and make sure that we're also measuring properly at 10 inches. So we're at the 6 and 16. We finish up at the 6 and 16. There we go, 10 inches. So we're going to put our ruler here. Now, I like to use these heavy weights just because I don't want to misstep, miscut, have it go off. But we're going to lean on this one. We're going to have it nice and sharp. We'll open up our, if it will let me, too funny. We're going to open up our blade here. And then we're going to make sure we're right at that 10 inches. We're going to trim that off. Okay, so we can pull apart the side that we're not using, get that out of the way. And then we're going to go ahead and cut it into our 4-inch strips. And our selvage line is right on that line, so we know we can take it over 4 inches and cut it off, 4 inches and cut it off, 4 inches and cut it off. So we are going to go ahead and take advantage of that. Actually, we're going to trim off our selvage because I don't need that in the mix. We're going to line up perfectly there, trim off our selvage. We can use that in a junk journal, I'm sure. Now we do our 4-inch. And this is a 5-inch ruler, makes it real nice and handy. We're going to put the bottom on the line. We're going to put the top on the line. We're going to go ahead and trim that off. And the sides right on the line. Okay, so there is our first quilt block piece. And keep lining them up and trimming them off. And cut our next and last 2. So we had plenty out of this fat quarter, but again, we were just cutting out 1 block, which makes it real easy not to overshoot the runway on my fabrics. Okay, so that one is done. We have our 4 pieces that we need for the quilt, and now we can pull over the next one and trim it up as well. And on our candy corn, we need 4 inches by 6 inches. So we've already cut it out our 6 inches. Now we're going to go ahead and cut it our 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's our first of 4 blocks. And 4 inches. Making sure we're keeping our fingers back away from the rotary blade. It doesn't matter where we're at on the mat because we're using the ruler as our 4 inches by 6 inches. Keeping our fingers back. And now we slice our last of the 4 blocks we needed out of the candy corn. And we're going to move on. And this one goes up in our reuse pile. This one goes in our block pile. And now we're going to jump over to our next, which happens to be the small skeleton. So we're looking for where we have the skeleton on our list. Ghost, blue, orange, light cobweb, skeleton, duh, 6 by 10. So we need 4 6 by 10. And we need 6 inches by 10 on this one. Make sure we are lined up. Our first block. Second block. Looks like we're going to get 3 and then go to our other piece. Because again, we're working with a fat quarter this time. So this one is now our scrap piece. We pull this one back over and we need a 6 inch by 10 inch out of it. We do not want to use the selvage part over here. So we're going to cut our 10 inches across here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We measure it down by the numbers to double check us. 28 and 18, 6 and 16, we are correct. So now we're going to line ourselves up on that line. Make sure everything is square. We're going to trim that off, put this part back up into our pile to use later. And then we're going to cut this off at the 6 inches. So we have the 6 inches by 10 inches. Put this up in our scraps. And now we have our 4 blocks. We're going to go on to the light cobweb. And now we have our light cobweb. We're going on to our orange with bats. And we're going to do our strip from the yardage of our 6 inches across with orange and bats on it. And I'm going to go around twice because I'm not working with a clean blade and I think it didn't pull. There we go. Beautiful. And now we're going to put our beautiful orange away for our next project. And we're going to pull this one down, and we have 3 different blocks times 4 to make out of this one. So we're going to go ahead and bring it down. And my first orange with bats I need is a 6 by 10. So we're going to line up our ruler. We're going to cut off our selvage. Put our selvage into our reuse pile. And now again, I'm doing a 6 inch by 10 inch. So we're going to pull this over for our 10 inches. I always like to double check my math, bring it down to 13 and 21, and we're over at 3 and 31 to 21. We're perfect. Okay, we're going to cut it just light of that line to line up with the other end. And this is going to be 2 of our blocks. And now we need 2 more because I have it folded over. I've done 2 at a time. And we'll go ahead and do our next 2. And again, we're doing a 6 by 10. All right, my friends, so now we need the ghost, and we need a 5 by 7 times 4 and a 5 by 8 times 4. So one wonderful thing about this piece of fabric is it is unidirectional. So I can go ahead and cut it off at 5 inches because my ghosts are pointed in 4 different directions. There we go. There's one upright. So 4 different directions. So this one makes it easy. So I cut 2 5-inch strips. And now we're going to cut 4 at the 7-inch and 4 at the 8-inch. So we're flipping this around, cutting off my selvage because it's easier for me to cut from this side. Lining it up all on a line. And we're trimming off the selvage. And then we have a 5 by 24 ruler. So I'm just simply going to take this over at the 5 by 7. And we're going to re-verify on our, I need 5 by 7. That's what I've got here. And I need another ghost. Is 5 by 8. So we're cutting this bunch of 4 blocks at the 5 by 7. So I have 4 of them here because I have the yardage of fabric doubled over. So of course when we do these, we'll do these right side up. But we've put those over into our block column. Now we're going to cut one stack of 4 at 8 inches. And this goes up into our reuse pile. And we're done with the ghosts, and now we move on to our green. All right, my friends, so what we have to do first is gather all of the fabrics that we think we want for our different designs. And then we have to get our double-sided iron. I'm using the Pellin. And the Pellin is a Wonder Under product, so that's real good. And we're going to go ahead and iron all our fabrics and then put the Pellin on the back. Okay, my friends, so we have all of our scraps that I'm going to be making different items out of. I've got the white. We are making the Halloween quilt, and I have my Pellin. We're going to be doing some raw edge applique. So I first wanted to use up all of my scraps, because we're going to be cutting it up into different shapes and appliquing it on. And then I didn't have enough of the reds, the flames, the pumpkin. So I picked out 3 beautiful fabrics as well that we're going to be using. So the first object or thing to do is to go ahead and iron on the Pellin. And I really only want to iron that which I'm going to be using so we can save the extra scraps for other items. And we're going to go ahead and start with the white piece because our ghosts need to stay within about the 10-inch size. So let me go grab a pair of scissors. We're going to figure out which side is right from wrong and iron it on. Getting off additional threads, definitely don't want them. Take a look at it in the light. This is the front side, so we're putting the back side against the pellin. And we're going to trim it to where we're only using exactly what we can put on the paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it off here. Slightly angled, but so will our ghost be, so that is quite all right. And we're going to set the white side apart because I don't know what else I would use besides a ghost. And then we're going to look at perhaps a broom. And with a broom, we've got a nice large piece of scrap here. And let's go ahead and cut it. I don't need this side here. So whoops, looks like it's sewn together there. Isn't that interesting? Again, I said it was scraps. So we're going to take this part where it is cut and just cut it almost straight over. And then decide, do we want the whole thing? And I want the freedom to choose. So we're going to go ahead and sew this on, iron this on next. So we're going to get that ironed out. And we're going to add on our black. We're going to need different facial features on our pumpkins. And I've got a nice size scrap of the black. So let's see if we can combine that on here somewhere happily. And then we're going to maybe do a little cutting, and we're going to do a bunch of ironing. All right. This piece over. See how we best fit, line up. So I think I'll go ahead and trim a piece of the brown so we can put the black there. I sure don't want the ooky gooky on my iron, the sticky on my iron. And we'll line that up there. I don't think I'm going to need all the brown, so we're going to put the brown on top. Put the black underneath. Iron that down. Trimming off the excess. So it takes a little bit of finagling if you don't want any waste, and I'd rather not have waste and not get it stuck on my iron. So we're going to continue to match pieces up like this, and we're going to iron them out. Or better yet, let's go ahead and cut off some so we don't have the bulk of weight. So I'm just cutting this scrap off so we don't have that weight torquing us. And let's go ahead and cut this off here and iron those 3 pieces. And then I want to get back over and show you the pattern again. Because we're going to put these on the larger pieces matched in with our piecework on our quilt. And we're going to go ahead and pop it with the iron. Then we'll cut off some excess. So let's get our iron going. And I've asked Sylvia to draw me out a rough outline. So we have the 2 pumpkins. This one kind of has a facial expression of, why are you sitting on top of my head? So I think I'm going to do the 2 pumpkins in 2 different colors. I have the beautiful broom. I think we'll do it with longer, wispier tassels. I think a witch could ride on that broom, don't you? Okay, beautiful leaves. And let's see the second picture she drew for me. Oh, my cauldron. We all love a good cauldron for witch's brew. So looks like some fun in my future. We've got these are going to be different colors of browns, maybe a little black and gray from the charcoal. Beautiful flames, different color flames. Oh, I'm so excited about this raw edge applique. Look at that. So we are going to be working on these 2. And I don't have the ghost written out yet, and we've still got to do the pumpkins. But let's go ahead and iron these 2, then we'll start laying out the pumpkins. And I have my iron on. It's cotton setting. And we could turn off the steam. We don't need the steam at this point. But I do like the hottest cotton setting. And we're just going to set our fabric onto this. Then we're going to trim off the brown where it overlapped the black, because we won't need those additional pieces. And we'll throw those back into the scrap bin, that which we cut off. Okay, I am so excited about this. And I am eager to get on to the next colors so we can start cutting out our beautiful creatures. And maybe we can design that ghost together to see how I get my inspiration and my ideas to go ahead and make that happen. And I just flipped it over onto the back to make sure it was all stuck down very well. And then we're going to let that cool just a little bit and trim off the excess brown that didn't get connected because we've got the black underneath. All right, very excited on that, and let's go ahead and start on the orange. Okay, and we've laid out some more double-sided sticky back. And I am going to lay out my pieces, my scraps that we have supposedly ironed. Yes, you saw me iron them. I'm just not happy with the flatness of them. Let's see if we can get another scrap to go there. We've got some beautiful black. We have more yellow, and look at this. I need the neck piece because we cut out scrap. So this, we're going to see how much of the fabric it takes up here. And maybe we're going to trim this piece off here. These are scraps. We are putting them face up. We're going to take up most of the space like that so we have very little waste. Pull my yellow over, and I think we're ready to iron that down. So let's pull that over. My iron is still hot. And now that we've got it a little bit tacked down here, I'm going to go ahead and cut it from the rest of the pellin, and then we will finish ironing it. Just wanted it secure so it didn't fall when I move this around. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and trim off the pellin. So again, I'm all about trying to maximize our space, have as little waste as possible. Okay, so we've got the pellin. Now let's go ahead and finish ironing this down. And we're going to trim it right at the top so we can put that on another piece of pellin or back into the scrap pile. Okay, and again, if you're not working with scraps, it's going to be so much easier for you because you can just put your fat quarters, your straight cuts right on top of this double-sided fusible, and you won't have to worry about piecing it together so you don't get the sticky back on your iron. That's kind of important. Look at what I've done here. I've wrinkled it. Luckily, we're only going to do broom parts with that, so I don't think that matters. It's disappointing, but I can live with it. Flip it over, see what we can go ahead and iron, stick down better from the back. And this as well, we want to make sure we don't have any exposed of the white because then we'd be getting our ironing board gooey, and that just messes up every project to come. So using a plastic sheet or making sure that you've covered all of the white surface is what you need to make sure that you're accomplishing. All right, so I am pretty confident with this piece now. We're going to set it to the side as well and go ahead and do more of our scraps. So we're going to get ready to sit down to our cutting table and create our raw edge applique. Okay, and we are now laying out some more of our scrap pieces, and I'm going to hit these with the iron, then I'll go ahead and trim them to size a little bit better. Make sure I cover all the weight. And again, I'm not doing them to make them permanent right now. I'm just tacking them down so I can maneuver and cut off the excess so it doesn't weight it down. Move it up here. And we're going to cut off this piece where you see that I have some extra running there. Threads. And again, these are scraps left over from other quilting projects. I like to keep all of my fabric so I can use them over and over and over. So in essence, raw edge quilting is a lot of using our scraps. So you can always use new yardage, but it's nice to use up scraps so that you are not having to spend so much money. And you never know how little you're going to need of some color just for eyes or gloves or a hat or a pumpkin. So it's nice to have those pieces. All right, so let's go ahead. I shouldn't have flipped it over yet, but it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and iron this down. And again, by pressing with a hot iron, we are affixing the double-sided fusible paper. And then we're going to take that fusible backing paper off and iron it to our other quilt block once we have our design cut out. And then we're going to sew around it. So I'm very, very excited about raw edge applique. I love it. And that one looks like it's done. We're going to go ahead and set it aside, and now we're going to start on our reds. Okay, anytime your fabric has been folded, it will have different creases in it and lines in it, and we don't really want those in our raw edge applique. It's not as easy to iron to our fusible. So we're going to go ahead and iron a piece of this yardage and then trim it off, and then we'll iron it to our fusible backing. Oh, I love this. Look at this red. This is just perfect flames. Don't you see them shooting out? How absolutely wonderful this is. Okay, and I just thought I'm going to need the second black. We're going to have to do that as well, because not only flames, but I need a black hat. So we're going to have to do a hat pattern, and it'd be nice to have that in a different color, black. Now I can take this over to my cutting board, which I should do to do a straight edge. But I'm just going to cut off a little piece now because I need it big enough for flames. And I don't need a whole lot more of it. Okay, so we have this piece all done. We're going to fold that, put that back into our red stash, and now we're going to iron our other red and orange and get ready for the fusible backing. Okay, so to go ahead and cut these other two fabrics, I decided, yeah, let's come on over to the cutting board. And I'm thinking for this one, I want pumpkins. So I probably want to give myself an easy 10 to 12 inches because one of the blocks are 14 inches by 16. So, no, I fib. 13 inches by 16. And another block is 14 by 13. So let's go ahead and cut this one maybe a good 12 inches across. I can make it fatter, but 12 inches probably all the depth I possibly want to do. And that way it'll give us some good feeling on that. And my flames, I only need 4 inches. So let's cut this one off at my 12 inch. And we're going to line it up cut it off real quick, bring it over to the iron, and zip it down. So I have it lined up at the 18, so I want to take it down to the 6 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Always measure twice, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. Okay, and we'll put a weight over there to help me out just a little bit. Make sure I don't get carried away. We're going to open up our rotary and we're going to zip that across. Now, I kept my fingers out of the way, but once my finger was past it, I put my thumb to hold this fabric so it didn't fall, but looks like I need to change my rotary blade again. All right, so we're done with that one. We're going to cut the red the same, but at 4 inches. And we're just going to zip that across at 4 inches. Goes up our rotary and back to the iron. Okay, and we all know a good part of any fabric project is always pressing, always ironing our pieces, because we need them nice and flat, whether we want a clean measurement for cutting or for connecting our blocks or for putting on fusible for the back of it. And again, we don't want to start with warm fabric when we do it on the fusible. So I'm going to let these cool for just a second before a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever it takes, before we put it on the fusible. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring back over the fusible. And I have my various fabrics that still need to go on the fusible. We're going to go ahead and lay these out. And again, we're doing raw edge applique. We're going to be working on a Halloween quilt. So we need Halloween colors for our cauldron, for making a big pot of stew. And we're taking our scraps, we're using them, and when we don't have enough scraps, we'll cut into our yardage like we did for the 2 reds and the 1 orange. Okay, so my black is finished. We're going to move over to one of our reds. And we don't need the selvage, so we can either cut the selvage off now or just put it above our sticky back. Don't want to waste too much fabric, but we'll put it above that. Make sure this is, oh, what are we doing, Wendy? Let's move the black all the way onto the fabric. Okay, now move the red over. Let's cut off the excess of the red. And you can see where it folds, where it falls down. And that's the edge of what's holding it up. And then the orange, we want a big piece, so let's grab the other red, which is only the 4-inch strip. Maybe I cut that one 4-inch. I'm not sure which one I cut 4-inch. Looks like I did pretty close to my 4-inch on both. One I just eyeballed, the other one you saw we measured. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim this excess size off. Then let's do these 3 pieces because, again, I want to not have these things move on me. All right, so we have our hot iron. We're going to go ahead and use it with no steam. When we do our raw edge on our fabric, especially if we're working with a lot of small pieces, you just lift up the iron, set it down on the fabric, and let it get a good connection. And now I think we've heated it enough that it's not going to fall off of our Pellin fabric fusible. So we're going to go ahead and trim it, and then we'll finish ironing it. So question for you, silly question for you. Do you say iron or do you say press? Do we iron something or do we press it? Let me know. Hit that comment button below because I have been really curious on that. My mom irons clothes, but she presses her fabric. So wondering if that's a real thing or if that's just an interesting factoid. Let me know down in comments, what do you and your friends say? What have you heard said? Because I would like to get it right. And I end up always saying both ironing and pressing because I'm not sure what the majority of people use or say, but I would really like to know. I would love to know. So hit the comment button. Let me know down below what you say, what you do. And have you ever raw edged applique? Is this the first time that we're going to be raw edge appliquing together? Because I am so incredibly excited about the things that we have going on. Maybe I'll even make the cauldron out of this black. What do you think? I know. Cauldrons are normally a solid black. But I'm seeing a beautiful design here for a cauldron. I don't know, with a hand. I don't know. We shall see which one we pick up and which one we do. So let's flip it over, make sure we're fully ironed down in all spots. How do you know? Well, sometimes the paper looks a little bit whiter from the back where it hasn't had a good solid press. I usually go over it all one more time, but if it's a little whiter in places, like this corner was actually whiter. I should have let you see it before I pressed it. But let me know, press, iron, what do we do? Okay, now that's going to be hot, so don't burn your hands, but we're going to take it, lay it over on the pile, and then do our orange for our pumpkin. Okay, so we have our fusible backing laying on the ironing board. We're heating up our iron to the hottest jean cycle, or the hot cotton cycle, and we're laying out our orange. Now we're going to go ahead and trim it so it doesn't pull on this side over here. We're going to trim it where the fabric is longer than the paper, and then we're going to cut the rest of the fusible back that we won't be using on this slice, and probably do another piece of this orange. Because if we want to go ahead and have fun, make a few pumpkins, let's go ahead and take advantage of this beautiful fabric. Maybe, just maybe, we'll actually have enough to do 2 quilts. Wouldn't that be exciting? Oh, and I trimmed that a little bit too close, so let's pull that back down there. The top is slightly off. That's okay. Let's go ahead and pop that with a hot iron. Hold that in place. And then we're going to iron that whole piece. But right now, what I really want to do is just go ahead and put another slice of the orange fabric down, because I think we're going to go ahead and make several pumpkins out of this. We can even add some of this to the cauldron for the flames. I just think this orange is gorgeous. I know it's a flower background, but if you put it in a different concept, you kind of change that and your eyes see it as flames instead of what it actually is. Or that's my story. I'm sticking to it. All right, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to cut off the extra pellin here, which is my fusible backing. You can use whatever fusible backing you're happy with. Okay, move that out of the way. And what I should do is trim off this fabric where it's just a little bit too big for me. So I pull that back so you can see. We kind of fold it over right at that crease. Make sure I haven't, look at that, I'm overlapping. How on earth did I do that? What did I do to myself? Okay, so we're going to create a little bit extra scraps, I think. Okay, sometimes you just get carried away and you're so excited about your project, we make mistakes. Luckily, on this raw edge applique at this stage, no mistake is a bad mistake, because we can throw that back onto another little piece of pellin, put the backing on that, and no harm, no foul. So this goes into our scrap pile for now. And let's iron these pieces down, and then we'll simply trim off what doesn't have the pellet on the back. Or we may use that and use some sticky bag roll of our own. Okay, so let's go ahead and heat this up and get this stuck down. And then we're going to go over and take another look at our pattern because I'm so excited. I cannot wait to make these Halloween raw edge appliques. And you know, Halloween is all about fun. Maybe it used to be scary. Maybe it used to be some sad, sad, sad anti-Christian thing. But I look at Halloween as a festive time for smiles. That's all Halloween should mean. It's just a festive time, a reason to enjoy family and friends and smile because we need more happiness, right? So we are making a happy, frou-frou, fun quilt. No spooky bad stuff, just spooky good stuff. Okay, lift that iron up. I'm hearing the paper sound underneath it, so I know it's not stuck. So you listen for the sounds. When you get the crinkling and crunching, you know that it is not adhered to the back side of your fabric yet. And we want to just lift it, set it, lift it, set it when we have our face or our object going on so we don't make it go out of place. You see me rubbing it a lot on this. But just go slow, be careful, know what you're doing, listen to the sounds. All right, now we're going to go ahead and turn this over and see what we have still to iron down, if anything. And again, like I told you, if it's a lighter white or a brighter white, like right here, we know that's not stuck real well, right on that edge. So I do need to do that better. All the rest of it looks well stuck down. So I just need to work on this edge, but as we saw, I think this is the edge I had the paper. So let me go ahead and trim the excess off of this because I don't want to get it stuck gooey onto my iron. So you can just gently cut that off. If we cut a little bit of the fabric off, that's okay too, because I'd rather waste just a 1/4 inch or less than have my iron or my project get messed up. Okay, so now I can iron that corner on a lot closer, a lot tighter. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bump you. I apologize. All right, now we are so excited. Let us go over to the table, take a look at our raw edge designs, and start the real process. And again, I could cut that off right there, but I think I'm going to leave it on because I'm very excited, and I think I might want my pumpkins that wide, and we can just add some sticky back to that. All right, so let's turn off our iron. And we're going to unplug it from the wall, safety first. And let's gather all of our pieces and go over to the table. Upside down or not, that is a beautiful picture to me because I'm so excited. We've got our blocks cut out and we've got our raw edge applique pieces ready to start designing using the beautiful drawings. All right, let's get started. Okay, so today it is all about applique. So I am looking at our beautiful patterns that I put on 12 by 12 paper, or I had Sylvia draw them out for us. And now we have, as you know, we have just gone over to the iron and ironed on some double fusibles for our different fabrics to go ahead and make our pumpkins and make our patterns. So, do we want to draw them out ourselves, or do we want to go ahead and let's do this one here, or cut them out and put them on the back and then do them that way. So I'm not going to use the Now we turn over to our paper scissors, and because we are cutting the backing, the paper, so we're going to go ahead and cut it right down our lines for our different colors to make them in much more manageable pieces. And we overlapped a little bit here. That's a-okay. Because again, we're using scraps. We're trying to keep as much as we can for this project. And we are so excited to get going. So trim all of your pieces apart. Make sure you're not trimming through more than one of your fusible papers that you have done. We have extra black, we can cut that off. We have the brown flipped on, we can cut that off. But again, we used our scraps, and that is what we are going to go ahead and separate now. Just turning up the edge of it where we've overlapped it and separating them. That way, if I want to use all of this brown fabric, I have not trimmed it, cut it off, or wasted it. And this, I think, is going to be our broom. So we can take this onto the back. And I don't have a pencil here. I do have a pen. We may go ahead and use the pen or gather our other parts. And for this broom, I want to decide how I can best use the paper with spoiling as little as possible. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out as well. You don't have to be too precise because I'm just trying to get the sizes. And then we're going to raw edge applique it onto our fabric. Yay! And again, I'm just trying to get the gist of it. I think I'm going to make my broom petals longer, but it's so hard for me to decide at the moment. So let's do it on this side. And I think we're going to take it down to here. And we're going to go ahead and, if I draw it this way, it's going to be backwards. Do I care? I don't think I care on this one. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim this part. And this is why we didn't take off the paper yet, because we want to be able to trace it onto our backing. So here, we could cut that out and trace that as well, or you can just eyeball it and do it, whichever you prefer. And this is our beautiful witch's broom. Okay, so we have kind of that curl here, and then we're going to have the broomstick petals out of the other light brown beige, I think. And again, we can audition it, we can change it if we like, but that is kind of what I was looking at, having the broom somewhere like that. What do you think? So hit me down in the comments. How would you do yours? I was looking for more of a wood look, but I think I'm very pleased with this. And we can always make more quilts and more raw edge appliques, because again, my friends, this is just one of many. One of many. I have not raw edge appliqued in about a year, and it is truly one of my great pleasures. I love, 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 love raw edge applique. I think it gives you such artistic freedom that you can just create anything. And I have never been able to draw very well. I've never been happy with what I create, drawing or painting, other than just like a decoupage and making pretty flowers, or yeah, you know, the basic frilly, lacy type things. I've not been great other than that, but raw edge applique is so much fun. Now, realizing when we raw edge applique this down, we're going to want to use a small satin stitch because, again, it's a very narrow piece. It's not very wide on that. And if you see, I've left some of the brown on down here, and we can just kind of take this and give it that rough edge appeal going into the other pieces that we're going to attach down below. So I think that is kind of an exciting idea as well. All right, and I might bring that up higher onto the paper and cut some out. So we've got some gathering over top of what is going to be our broomstick. So it's kind of two color there. I like that idea. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our broom part. And we wanted to do it a little bit longer than what I had. I think I can put it right up on this piece that was added onto. And we're going to take it up here. So we've got this piece. Okay, so we've kind of cut out our broom piece down here. We can fray the ends when we're ready to, but we can just take our, that's my scraps. Keep all your scraps. We can use those for little eyeballs, little noses, all kind of fun things. So get yourself a small shoebox plastic bin and keep all the small pieces because we will be using those again. Okay, so here's my broom. So we kind of want to decide how big, how long we want our broom to be. And I kind of thought that this pattern was a little bit short for me, but this obviously way too long. So we are going to take off the paper and see. How much freedom I want, pulling off the pieces. Again, I can use these in so many different ways, adding a little bit of texture, giving a crease in a person's face, all kind of different opportunities to use that with. Okay, so I think I'm going to trim this off here. So what I'm doing is I'm taking these and I'm just having fun kind of creating that into more of a broom type effect. And one great thing about this is we can add, we can take away. We are not stuck in a look if we don't like it. So there's lots of opportunity to change. We can even add some of these pieces on, sticking out the side. So we're never at a loss for what we can do. So I just want to let you know that you have artistic freedom when you raw edge applique, because if you have any desire at all, it is so incredibly much fun. So I have my two pieces of my broom here. So now we're going to decide, we've got the different pattern for the quilt that we've been working on. And I'm thinking maybe I'm going to put this onto one of the purple pieces. So let's pull out of our purple piece. And let's see if we've even made that small enough to go on our purple piece. Okay. And I might take that down a little bit more. Aw, shucks. I really love this broom. And we want some black ties across here. So let me get some black pieces that we can tie around it. So we're going to take some of our black scrap here that we had, and just take some strips. So let me go ahead and tear off a little bit of black so that we can put the black strips right on top for the ties around holding the broom. And this purple piece almost is not big enough for me, but we're going to make it do this time and then decide how we want to create the broom differently. So I'm just going to trim off some of these edges right here to make it fit into our broom just a little bit better. And then we're going to have our black pieces go across here. Okay, so let's go ahead and show you how we take off the paper off of the back. So I'm going to open up my scissors and I'm going to take my one edge and I'm going to just slit down the paper. Hopefully that was hard enough, and it is. And then we're going to gently pull the paper off, keeping the sticky back there on it. So we have all the sticky back off. So we're ready to iron that piece down. Now let's do the same here. We're going to take a little slit. We've got to be careful because we've made so many different broom pieces on that we want to not have pull off. And one came off clean. All right, so let's go over to this bigger side, see if we can get the whole thing to come off at once. So we're just going to pull that off at once. Now these, they do have wax on the back, so unfortunately these do not make good paper pieces, and they're too tiny and cut up, so this unfortunately does have to go into the waste bin. I can't reuse the smaller pieces again. The larger pieces I like to use as, what is the backing to make your stitches a little bit thicker. Without saying a name brand, I don't know what the ultimate thing is. Okay, so we have that one, and we're laying that down kind of sort of how we want it to cross over, making sure our broom petals are stuck out there real well. We're going to have to pull it up a little bit, keeping it all inside of our pattern. Spread out our tassels, and now we have our black. Let's see if we can just pull from the edge and get this to separate from its paper. And see if I can do that. And then we're going to run back over to the ironing board and I'll show you how we glue it down, and then we'll have some fun stitching. We're going to see if I can get it to come up this way. Oh, that's going to work. Maybe, maybe. All right, perfect. So now we have the sticky back on that, and that's going to go right across our broom. Okay, so let's go on over to the ironing board, iron this piece down, show you how we sew. Okay, so we're back at the iron. We have our broom. It's not ironed down yet. We have our black piece that I'm going to make for the thread to tie the broom together. And I'm going to just go ahead and lay it over, trim it off at the correct spot that I want it, lay the next piece on, and we're going to cut it off. We're going to flip it around, lay it down on the broom, and trim it off. So again, even the tiniest little scrap, so helpful, so beneficial. And now we're getting our iron hot. We're going to see if those 3 are enough. Maybe we want another one up top. Kind of like that even thread look. Okay, so now if I can get these to glue down without sticking to the iron, we'll be golden. And we're just going to take the iron that's hot, guess I need to turn it on, and then we're going to iron down our broom. Spread out our bristles. Okay, let's see if we're hot enough. And we just go straight down. Give it to the count of 5 or 10. Pull it straight up. Go straight down. Give it to the count of 10. And pull it straight up. So it's a slow process, but it's going to be fun thread painting this piece and adding it to our Halloween quilt blocks. So again, maybe this was the simplest of our pieces, but as you can see, it was not perhaps the easiest of our pieces. Okay, so I think I have that fixed down. We can go ahead, bring it back over to the to the sewing table and sew down our broom. Okay, and I did want to show you our broom here that we have just ironed. See what you think of the very beginnings of it. And again, it's going to look better, I really hope, with the thread painting. So let's go have some fun. Okay, so we're over at the sewing machine, and we've put ourselves on a small zigzag. I'm trying a length of 1. It's not a satin stitch, and a width of 2. And we're going to take that up, and then we're going to thread paint. So that means we're going to go around more than once, and in many different ways we're going to sew this. So I'm going to go ahead and put our foot down. We're going to sew around with brown thread. Then we're going to come back with a beige thread, black thread. We're going to have fun painting this in. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll be able to see the stitching a little bit as we come around the other side. It'll be much clearer for you. So you're going to see that better in just a minute. Now, going around a circle, what I do is when the needle is on the inside, I pick up the foot a little bit and I pivot. And then I'll go up on the circle a little bit more, move my needle towards the inside so we're not missing anything. Looks like my thread's a little loose there. Pull it a little tighter, lift, turn, and go down another maybe 3 stitches. Move the needle back towards the inside of my picture and go again. Inside, foot up, pivot, twist, down. Come on, needle down. And we're making sure we're not going over the rest of the quilt. So as you can see, I did a little bit of jig-jag on the side. Then we're coming up the side. I'll show you a little bit closer in a second because it looks like that's hard to see. Here you see a little bit better the stitches, and we're not doing the satin stitch like I mentioned we're going to do on some of these, but the broom, I wanted it to be a little bit rougher. It's wood, it's bristles, it's a little more tough, and I wanted it to have that beautiful rugged look, so that's why we're doing it as a wide stitch instead of the zigzag. Okay, so let's get around this end of the curly cutie broom. On the inside. Oh, I broke my thread. Okay, knew something was going on wrong there. So let's rethread real quick. Pull that needle up, down, click, and click, and it broke, so I need my scissors to trim it. And I thought I had my paper scissors right here with me, and I've hidden them. I'm gonna grab scissors. And we're just going around the corner. So I'm placing my needle towards the inside. Needle down, up, pivot. And then I want to go about 3 stitches pending the curve. That way we're not running off of our project. We're staying on our project. Manipulating the fabric to twist it around. I'm on the outside curve, so it's a lot easier. Imagine doing this when it's not glued down, where it's not secure. Really hard to do. So that fusible double-sided back. Ah, I love it. We're gonna go, looks like I need to go back to go around the row. Okay, needle down on. A little bit smaller. Drag that up. Okay, now we're gonna switch over to a straight stitch. So we're gonna go needle up, straight stitch, back to a 0 width, back out to a, let's do about a 1 3/4. Let's take that all the way down. Flip it around, see how we jack that up. Now we're just going to do a lot of thread painting in here. And again, we're going to go to different colored threads to really be able to pull this off. You see how I twisted that one? We can go back and fix that in a second. We have lots of options. We can trim it off, we can lay it down, go over it again, we can leave it loose like a part of the broom is flying up. I think I'm going to opt to sew it down. We'll do that with maybe this thread, maybe the next thread. So let's finish this up. I am by no means finished, but I do want to let you see it a little bit closer. So maybe you can get a little concept of the idea that I'm working with. Pull that so I don't lose my thread. And it looks very, very rough around the edges now. But again, this is a broom. It's going to go on our Halloween quilt. And I'm loving it now. We're going to put several other layers of different color thread on it. And let's see if I can back this up so I can look at this a little bit better. And what's the best thing? What is my best bet? I think I'm going to sew that down. So we're okay with that. That's just going to be sewn down. Like a lot of these, I'm going to go over with a lot of different colors. Maybe I'll put a couple more lines of this brown before I switch threads. What do you think, my friends? Does that look like a broom so far? And even in the purple, we're going to put a lot of threads down here for the little spokes and different, what is it? Wheat, hay, grass that we use as the broom pieces. So we're going to even cover up some of that purple in there with the thread painting. Yay! All right, we are back to our pattern on our Halloween applique quilt. And again, the majority of these are going to be all blocks that we're going to sew together. Then this we're turning into a 16 by 13 block, a 10 by 10, and a 14 by 13. So as you just saw, we turned our 10 by 10 purple block into a raw edge applique of a broom. And let's go ahead and start putting this quilt together, and then we'll do some more raw applique, what I love. So let's go ahead up here, and we're going to start out with the 6x5 light cobweb and the 6x5 looks like raven. Okay, so we have our ravens in our stack, and we have our 6x5 ravens, and we have that 6x5 ravens, 4 of those, because we're going to make 4 of these to go ahead and create one nice size quilt. And then we need our light cobwebs. So this is our dark cobwebs. We're going to go find, this is our lighter cobwebs. So we need 4 6x5s here. So we have these together, and we're going to sew one on top of one another. So if we want the fabric to be upright, we need to make sure that it is upright. And as we can see, no matter what we do, some of our ravens are upside down and some are right side up. So we have them opposing figures, so it's not going to matter that much to us. And it looks like our cobwebs, some are upright and some are going down as well. So we're going to put 2 pieces together, right sides together. We're going to sew the 6-inch 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6 inches across together. So we're going to go ahead and chain stitch these 4 blocks, giving it a 1/4 inch, and we're going up to a length of about a 3. And we're going to go ahead and sew all 4 of these together and start our quilt. I'm so excited to get this started. Yay! I just love raw edge applique and all of these beautiful fabrics, all of these beautiful blocks. Is going to make some absolutely wonderful lap quilt and twin size bed. Even fits on a full size bed, covers the whole top. Okay, so we have those 4 sewn together. We're going to put them side by side these. So let's drop down here and do our candy corn and our blue together. So we're looking for a 4x6 candy corn. So we have our candy corn here, and then we're looking for the blue. And I just so titled these blues as just being blue. So we're going to pull them out. And on this blue, we want the 8x6 inches. So we should have a ruler here because we want to measure twice. So 8 inches across by 6 inches. We want to make sure we have that, and that is not that piece. So we're going to set those aside. And that looks a little bit better. So we have maybe some blocks still in here, hiding amongst my pieces. Oh, and that's the magic about cutting your blocks ahead of time. So I am thinking I have 2 other blue sections. So let's go in here and find my blue. I am looking for 8x6. That truly looks like an 8x6. Oh, okay, on the we are ruler, the 1 inch starts over here. So that's why I was petrified thinking I cut them differently. Okay, so, and this is 8 inches. I knew it looked like it. By, where's my 6? My 6 inches. So these are the 4 blocks that I want. And it looks like they are directional so far. Let's flip this over. And that looks directional. And this looks directional. So we got to make sure we have these all in the correct directional side. Candy corns go all different ways, so it does not matter. So we're going to 4x6, 6x8. We are going to chain stitch the 4 of these together. And then we can do a few more, then we'll take them to the iron, press the seams, and then we can start putting all the blocks together. And then we'll jump back over and do some more raw edge applique. So very excited. Yay. All right, so what project are y'all working on? Any questions for me? Upcoming, I want to do some Easter quilts. I'm going to do a little bit of traveling, so you're going to see traveling mixed in with these as well over on Where Wendy Travels, Where Wendy Creates. But for Where Wendy Creates, we're going to be doing some more quilts on the long arm. We have about 6 quilts that have to go on that we've already made. We're going to be finishing up the Mexico quilt that I was working on for my husband. I just need 2 borders around that, so I'll show you that real soon because I really need to get that going, finished. But we have some grandkids quilts, if you will, that Sylvia is working on for all of her grandchildren. So I want to work on those with her. We'll be long arming them. You'll see some of the stitching process and how we do that on the gamel. And then I'll be doing binding tutorials. I've shown you recently binding on the sewing machine, but I also want to go ahead and show you hand binding, which we'll be having a video on. And then we're going to have binding on the long arm. So hand binding, sewing machine binding, long arm binding. I'm missing one more, but you're going to see it soon. I'll give you a list when I do the hand binding. I'll let you know about the others. Okay, so I was just stacking these blocks as I jibber jabber. And let's go ahead over to the next one is the green and the ghost. So let's pull out my green. And looks like we've got several different green blocks. So I'm looking for the 7" by 7". And this is my 7" by 7" blocks. And then these are, some are up, some are down. So it does not matter. These are multi-directional. And then I have my ghost blocks. I think they are directional. Let's take a look at the ghost blocks. For the ghost, I want the 5" by 7". So it looks like we have, just let me double check that these are my 7". They look more like 6, but I want to double check. These are my 7" by 5". 7" by 5". Okay, so these go on. We're doing the green multi-directional with the ghosts. Okay, and the ghosts up, sideways, sideways. There's the down one. Okay, so they are multi-directional as well. So we want to go ahead and put all of these face to face, and we're going to chain stitch these blocks together. Seven by 7 and 5" by 7. Now this is a pattern that I've created. Sylvia's helped me put it together. And we're trying out these new patterns. And this one has given me large sections so I can do the raw edge appliques in as well. Because I love it, want to get back to it, and hopefully it's something you enjoy. What about you? Have you ever done a raw edge applique? I would love to see what you've done. I would love to hear about it. I would love to have you let me know what you would like me to show you that I've done in the past, or do it for you. Face to face. multi-directional, love multi-directional. Okay. And we have these 4 sewn together. So now I can put together my 6x10 and my 4x10, my skeleton and the mummy. The skeleton and the mummy. So this is the mummy, and then I need a skeleton that is 6x10. So let's go through here and find my skeletons that are 6x10. So I have my 6x10 skeletons, and the skeletons are up and down multi-directional, and the mummy is definitely directional. So I need to have that, make sure it's on the correct side. So we're going to go ahead and put these 4 together. And chain stitching. What chain stitching means is that I'm doing all of the same kind of block at the same time. Just keep on going before I take them out over to the ironing board and press them. So we're putting these together. We're doing our 1/4 inch seams. Right sides together, wrong sides out. Making sure we hold that right on that 1/4 inch seam. Lining up our edges. And 2 more of these to go, and then we'll do our green and our orange bats. I'm excited. It does take a lot of practice, but it's something that you should love, because I love, because you get to play with fabric. You get to choose different kinds of fabrics to play with. And doing a Halloween quilt, when are you ever going to put that in a quilt unless it's a Halloween quilt? So truly, all kind of absolutely fun fabrics that you would never get to play with unless you were doing some kind of frou-frou fun quilt such as this. So do themed quilts. I want to do them for every holiday. I think you've seen my Christmas quilts. If not, we'll have a show and tell, and I will do a few more Christmas quilts. That reminds me, I do have another Christmas quilt I have to do the binding on. So I'll do a tutorial how to cut, fold, iron, connect, and bind from start to finish. Okay, so now we were going to do, I think we said we'd do this one next. So I have green blocks. I need a 6x5. So these are too long. Here's my 6x5. And then it's 6 across and 5 down. And then I need my orange bats that are 6x8. So let's go down to the bats in the pile. And we get down to the bats in the pile, and I want 6 inches by 8 inches. 6 inches by 8 inches. That looks like this, but let's go ahead and verify real quick. So we've learned on our We Are ruler, the 1 inch starts down here, and then I go forward. Okay, so let's measure this, and this is 8 inches by 6 inches. 6x8, so it's 6 across, 8 down. So we want to turn them like this. Our bats are all multi-directional, so we don't worry about that. And we were connecting them to our green. What did I do with my green? Throw my green over here again. Okay, I know you saw what I did with my green. Right on the bottom. Okay, so orange bats underneath the green. So we're going to go ahead and take it like this. These are multi-directional, up and both ways. So we're going to take these on the top and go ahead and chain stitch the 4 of these real quick. I'm glad you're here with me today. I have been wanting to do my Halloween quilts for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, because I just love the appliqué. And the broom, that was the simplest of all. We're going to have so much fun with the cauldron, the fire underneath the cauldron, the pumpkins. How fun are pumpkins? We're going to do leaves and a stem. We're going to do some thread painting. It's going to be so much fun. So I'm not sure if I'm going to tear this video down into multiple videos or not yet. I may have to do that because it does take time to create a quilt, and I want to be respectful of your time. So, question, hit me in the comments below. Would you rather see a 20-minute video, a 30-minute, an hour, or just, hey, Wendy, do it as long as it takes an hour and a half, 3 hours so I can see the whole project? Let me know what you would like me to do, and that will really help me out. Okay, so those are done. This is my full one. We've done this. We've done those two. This is my full purple. And then we're going to, this is my full one. So now we have to do these right here. So let's go ahead and do, looks like I'm going to do the 8x5 and the 8x5, the green and the blue. So let's grab my blue. We know those are directional, so I got to make sure they're turned correctly. And then the green. Okay, so we have, our green is multi-directional. We have, okay, so our green and our blue, and we've got to have them upright. So we got to make sure that these are all upright. Okay, and to do that, they're all upright now, just some basing. Okay. We're going to put them together and chain stitch them together. Green on the inside, blue on the outside. Now, you can use needles or safety pins and sticky notes and go ahead and pin all of the right size blocks together, and that way you don't have to worry about getting the wrong ones pinned the wrong directions, as long as you do the safety pins and the sticky notes. It makes this process very, very easy. Looks like I'm building up here at the back of the sewing machine, so let me go ahead and trim these and stick these in a pile for us. Okay, and we're just going to trim them all off, set them in a pile, bring them over to the ironing board once we finish these next 4 blocks after we finish this stack. Okay, yay! I just love all these happy perky colors. And it's a process, my friend, but it's so well worth it. I mean, I love these on the couch. Nothing is better than having company and somebody being a little bit cool and you being able to grab one of your own comfortable, clean, already washed quilts that you have made yourself, that you decorate the rocker chairs with, you decorate the couches with, and put it around that person so that not only they feel nice and warmed, but a quilt to me is like a loving hug, you know? You're hugged with that quilt. And if it's seasonal, it's a conversation starter. A quilt is so good for so many, many reasons. And you give a quilt away, it says, hey, look, I spent my time, my effort, my money, my love, my heart and soul creating this, making this from start to finish and gifting it to you. So I think a quilt really means love. So to all of you artists out there, same thing. Your art is a piece of your soul, and if I'm saying it funny, if I'm saying it wrong, forgive me, but I really just think that it means so much to receive something that you've created. Not that you've bought, but that you have created for that person. I just think that is so spectacularly wonderful. Okay, so let's sew these last 2 together, then we'll get on to the last 4 blocks. And then we'll do some more raw edge. Okay, and sewing these 2 together. And notice I made sure the blue and the green upright. kind of like measure twice, cut once. It's lay it out twice, cut sew once. And you know what? If we have to pull those threads to make it right, it's just part of quilting. It's not saying you did something terribly wrong. It's just part of quilting. Okay, so let's go down here. And I don't know why I haven't used my orange bats yet. That's kind of weird to me, like I've missed something. But we're going to do our raven. So let me find our ravens. So here's our ravens. They're right here. Then we have our black widow. Our black widow is 6 by 4 right here. And then we have our orange bats. Well, hello there. And Sylvia is back home, my friends. Okay, and then we have our 5 by 8 ghosts. Okay, so we're back at the ironing board and we've got our blocks in tow. Now we're going to simply open them up, press the seams, and then over to the cutting board for anything that needs to be trimmed, like the side of this, because again, we didn't do our 1/2 inch seam allowance. Okay, so now we're going to press our blocks to where we have nice, crisp seams, as you can see. And we're just going to simply stack them up on the other side of the ironing board and keep going, running through all of these to make sure that we are ready for the next step. And the next step is starting to sew them together. And of course, we've got a lot more raw edge applique in our future. And once we have all of our blocks pressed, we're going to turn off our iron, unplug it, and bring our blocks back into the sewing table. Okay, and now that all of our blocks so far have been pressed, we're going to bring them back over and take a look at our pattern to see exactly what the next step is. So we have our, let's find our light cobweb, our raven, and our orange bats. So we have these 4, and next to them, we're going to sew onto the candy cane and the blue, candy corn and the blue. That was funny. Had a trip back to Christmas time. All right, so we have our candy corn and our blue. So these pieces upright. Now look what I have done. So we have to decide whether we're going to use the seam ripper and pull out the stitches or not. But I have 2 of them where the ravens are on top and 2 of them where the cobwebs are on top. I think I'm okay with that because there are going to be 4 of these around the quilt, and it's okay not to be the same. There's no need, in my opinion, to have this pattern be the same. So I think we're going to go ahead and leave them like that, even though I've done that. But if you don't use the sticky note with your patterns to get your pieces in correctly or pin them before you sew them, this is the sort of thing that could happen. I'm okay with it this time. If you're not, that's something you might want to pull the seams and redo. But I'm going to take this right here, which is this pattern right here, and I'm going to now put the candy corn and the blue underneath it, and we're going to sew these together. So we're putting these face to face. Our seams do not line up, which is kind of cool. And we're going to sew these together, all 4, and then we'll go on to the next block that we can complete in our pattern. And we'll hold on to our threads to start. And I do that again so it does not knot. It does not nest, which is a bunch of strings coming together and kind of pooling at the bottom of the fabric piece that you're sewing. Or that the thread doesn't pull out of the top and you have to rethread your needle. So that's why I hold on to the back for those 3 reasons. If you have another reason, hit me in comments below, tell me what you do. And we're making sure our seams are right side up. And we're sewing these together. And we're just taking them one after another and sewing them together. All right. And I have 2 more to go. And then we move on to the next color. I'm excited. Okay, 2 more to go. And this is where you can stick a couple of pins in it if you choose, or otherwise hold it tight. Make sure you're guiding it with your fingers. You're making sure you're lined up, and you're making sure your seams are going in the right direction. So just go slow, be comfortable. If your machine can adjust the speed, it's nice if you're not a comfortable quilter to go ahead and turn it down towards the turtle gear instead of the rabbit gear, so you slow down your stitches. It doesn't make them any tighter or loose together. It just slows down the needle speed. With the Singer Heavy Duty, it doesn't have that ability, but most of your quilting machines will have. And so if you have that and you're not comfortable with controlling the speed at which you're sewing at, use that gear. It's very nice, and it helps you stay at a consistent speed and gives you time to correct any errors before you've sewn over them or gone too far. So last block of this one. So excited, yay. Okay, so now what are we gonna do? We have, this one is the black. Where are we here? So let's find out. I need the 8x5 green and the 8x5 blue. So let's look for a blue and a green, which I don't see offhand. Interesting. Here's some green. There we go, blue and green. So we're going to pull those out. And these blue and green blocks, I'll bet you they go with these. Let's take a look. Green here, blue here, upright, trees go up, birds, owls go up. And then we're going to look at the raven, the black widow, the orange bats, couldn't read myself upside down, and the ghost. Okay, so that's these 4. So we're going to bring these 4 over, and it doesn't matter which one you put touching, facing each other. It just matters that you're going to keep them in line. So you're going to lay them out the way you're going to sew them. We can go ahead and stick a couple of pins in them to keep them aligned and the seams going correctly, or you can go slow enough to make sure your seams go the right direction. And keep that 1/4 inch as consistent as you can. Okay, make sure the seam's going that way. Seam's going that way, and this top seam is going up as well. Okay, wonderful. I'm feeling accomplished. How are you feeling? Okay, so we're going to take them like so, line them up perfectly, take special note which way your seams are supposed to go, and that way we keep them heading in the right direction, because when you're laying them this time, sometimes they want to turn back over. So right now, the bottom seam is going this way, and with it laying on the machine, it's going to want to turn back towards me. We need to make sure it stays in the right direction. So that is where a pin really comes in handy, and it makes this process almost thoughtless, so you can just enjoy yourself, pull the pin out when you get to it. But again, if you don't use pins, take extra time to make sure those seams remain in the correct direction. And again, watch that project the entire length across to make sure your 1/4 inch is staying that 1/4 inch. Okay, and 2 more to go, it feels like. Pick this one up, twist it around, and my blocks are getting to be bigger blocks, so we are getting closer to success here. I'm very excited about that. All right, so let's take these out. And again, making sure our seams continue to lay the correct direction. Did I do that one backwards? Nope, because the ghost and the blue are still together. Ghost and blue are together. And our seams are laying the correct direction. Our blocks are lined up. And I like to trim it before too much bulk gets back here and stick them in a pile to go to the ironing board. And the larger your blocks get, the more often you're going to want to check on that to make sure that they are all not falling on the floor or getting otherwise molested or more wrinkled or anything else that you care about. All right. And we don't mind if these get mixed up because we're going over to the ironing board next, I believe. So we're just laying these out. And we'll see where those other blocks go to see if we can sew more before we go to the ironing board. Okay, so one more here. And lining up our seams. Our edges, making sure our seams go in the correct directions. Towards me. And if they get off kilter, you can reach underneath and grab that other and pull it out to where your edges remain lined up. Now let's see where the others go. So we are looking at skeleton and mummy go next to my purple. Just did these. These go next to my black. I think I've sewn these, so I have to do these next. Okay. So let's go ahead and get ourselves in order, and maybe it is almost time. So I have my green, I have my mummy and skeletons. The mummy and skeleton's going to go next to my purple block. So those are ready and waiting. I have my green and orange bats that's going to go next to my black. And I have my ghosts and my green that's going to go under this block. So let's go iron this block, connect these to it. Then we're ready to raw applique, and then we can start putting the whole quilt together. So I'm very excited about that. And you know already we did the broom applique. So next we're going to be doing the pumpkins, the cauldron. We're going to make a hat and do a hat, maybe even, what do you think? Maybe witch's shoes, maybe a cat. What other Halloween things? A bat. We could make a big bat. They could be very beautiful too. Maybe a little glistening on the wing somehow. Raw edge paint around the ridges of it. Maybe a furry face. What else could we do? Hit the comments below. Tell me what you would do. And I'm going to come back, iron this, lay it out a little bit so you can start to see what it looks like. And then I think we're going to have part 2. So my friends, let's go hit the ironing board, iron these up so I can show you how it's coming together so far. And then we're going to have a part 2 where we do some raw applique and hook these blocks together. And again, hit me in the comments below. Tell me whether you'd like to see this all as one video or brought down into several parts, like 30-minute segments or hour segments or 20-minute segments. What do you like? What do you think? Let me know, and let's go iron these pieces. Okay, so we are laying out our Halloween quilt. So you're seeing how the blocks are going to go together. So in episode 2, we're going to be showing you the applique. So our black blocks are going to turn into these beautiful different creatures, and you will see different cauldrons and pumpkins, and maybe you and I together will make some witches' hats and witches' shoes and cats and maybe a spooky tree. And now, remember, everything in my quilt is happy spooky. Happy, happy, happy spooky. No scary spooky. So, my friends, come on back real soon. Hit that subscribe button down below. We have so much more fun in front of us. See you real soon.